Quite a lineup for you. We have some staff in the house to share with you some mental health supports, and we also have some staff here that are going to share some community connections. Quite a lineup for you. We have some staff in the
Hold
house
on,
to share with you some mental health supports.
We're gonna-
And we also will be sharing the student parent survey results with you that was sent out the last couple of weeks. So Bill and I will be sharing those details with you. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Ashley Olio, who is the BFA social worker. And as I said, she'll be sharing some mental health supports available to students, families, and communities.
Hi everybody. So again, my name is Ashley Olio. I am the school social worker here at BFA. I work with students on an individual basis, and I also hold groups while we're in session. I wanted to share some additional resources for you all, including guidance counselors. Marissa McFadden, she is our homeschool clinician. She's an awesome resource. She's through NCSS, and she provides support, some additional support to students, and is also my partner when we hold groups together. So we actually hold a virtual group called Well Minded, which is every Wednesday at 10 a.m. and we really focus on stress and anxiety for students right now and how to cope and manage that through this strange world we're all living in right now. I also wanted to mention Susan Boslin. She's an awesome support with the Tech Center, and I know that she would be happy to talk to students who may feel like they need extra support right now. So the way you can get in touch with Marissa and I is obviously through our emails. We are really quick to respond, and we are happy to help in any way that we can. So community supports that I wanted to talk about, specifically the NCSS Crisis Hotline. It's a hotline that's available 24/7. The number to that is 524-6554, and you just press option 1. This crisis hotline is for anybody who may be feeling thoughts of self-harm or suicidal ideation. And they are a really good support, so you can call if you're worried about yourself or a friend or a family member, and they will help you through that, and provide you a safety plan and just somebody to talk to. I also want to acknowledge that it's not always comfortable talking to somebody, but there is a crisis text line through the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. If you text 741-741, you'll be linked up to a mental health professional that can also support you. I also wanted to talk about basic needs supports. We have Ada's Closet here on campus at BFA, which is a resource center for students who may need to receive additional hygiene items, personal hygiene, feminine hygiene, clothing, and things like that. And although students can't access it directly now on campus, I am more than happy to make deliveries to families. So please reach out to me via email, and I would be happy to drop some things off for you all. I also just want to mention again the Maple Run food delivery program. You can pick up lunches and breakfasts at BFA, SATEC, and SACS Mondays and Thursdays. From 11 to 12:30, and we are also doing the bus routes, so if you'd like to be added to that, if you haven't already, please reach out to me and I'll make sure that you are added to the routes. And this is for any student, so from 0 to 18, so I highly suggest that you take advantage of that opportunity. Lastly is the local food shelf, which is called Northwest Family Foods. They are providing thousands of meals to families right now, so you can access their webpage and find out more information on their hours. I just wanted to also include some additional reminders of really taking care of yourselves during this time. Self-care is so important. Having a routine and maintaining a schedule really also feeds our mental health as well. Routine really regulates us, and we are so used to having a routine here at school. You come to school and you have your day, and it's just really important to maybe sit down as a family and create your routines at home. And although this seems redundant because you keep hearing it, but getting outside and staying active really has positive impacts to our mental health and well-being as well. It's really important just to focus on those things extra right now. There's no right or wrong way to feel during this time, so please just remember to take care of yourselves and reach out with any questions. If there's any resources that you want to access that I didn't talk about today, just shoot me an email and I'd be happy to figure out what resources are available.
And you can find all of our staff emails and contact information on our website by their first and last names. Next, I'd like to introduce to you Jennifer Conrad, who is the Human Services Instructor for the Northwest Technical Center. And she's going to be sharing with you a little bit about what they've been learning inside of their Human Services classroom.
Thank you, Leanne and Bill, for giving me the opportunity to be a part of this meeting tonight to speak more about our students and helping others and community involvement. My name is Jennifer Conrad, and I'm the Human Services Instructor at the Northwest Career and Technical Center. I have three children. Two of them attend BFA. One's a sophomore. The other is a graduating senior this year. And my oldest is finishing his junior year at UVM. My husband also teaches here in the Maple Run district. He's a PE teacher at the St. Albans Town School. You might want to check out our Family Fit activities that he's been posting for his students on the town school website. Just a little shout out for him. But together, we have been living this experience and figuring out our new normal as a family of five. And honestly, we are so grateful and appreciative to live in St. Albans. We can't thank all of the people in our community and schools, all of the essential workers that are helping to keep us safe. So we just wanted to take that opportunity to say thank you to our community. With that said, the Human Services Program gives high school students the opportunity to explore careers in helping and supporting others. Students that want to be teachers or counselors or caseworkers or support staff learn from working in our on-site preschool. They work in our Maple Run schools, and they work with our partnering agencies such as Northwest Counseling, Voices Against Violence, and our Juvenile Justice Center. And when we had to move to online learning, this really challenged our regular practices, and we had to think creatively about learning to help others and community involvement. Some of the ways that we've continued to teach our program students about helping others is by hosting online trainings and workshops. We had Olivia Gansu from Voices Against Violence join us with a presentation on healthy relationships. Lance Mayer and Holly Reed from Northwest Counseling and Support Services have done a two-part training on mental health and self-care. And Camille Kuzman and our co-op coordinator, Rob Thayer, who continues to work with the Juvenile Justice Center, led a final session from a three-part series from the year in restorative practices and understanding the value of using restorative practices in our schools and a community to build relationships and connections. Uh, in all, we were able to think and discuss helping others and building community connections on a deep level and really think more about this challenging time. The students in our program, they are our future helpers. All of our students are. And to think about what Fred Rogers once said, that when he was a boy and scary things were happening, his mom would tell him to look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping. My high school students are showing and giving me lessons in perseverance and positivity. I see students advocating for themselves. And this challenge is giving parents and students time to think about, what is important to us? What do we value? How do we learn best? I have one student who's attending my online class weekly while she's helping to work in her family business, is that they've had to make changes during this time. I have another who's providing care for a family who is essential worker, and another who's continuing to assist a kindergarten teacher with her online class doing read alouds and activities. All of this has just given me great hope about our future. The other day in our restorative practice training, we were asked to share one thing that we wanted to accomplish for the week, one thing that we wanted to do for ourselves this week, and one thing we could do to help someone else this week. And the students' comments were inspiring and filled me up. And it made me think, if we all just every week stopped and thought about those three things, that maybe taking every week to think, what's one thing I want to complete this week? What's one thing that I want to do for myself? And what's one thing that we can do for others? That just stopping and thinking about those three things can be so helpful and really have us stop and think about this time. So I really thank you for taking time to listen. And if you or your child would like more information about our Human Services program at the Career Center, please feel free to check out our website at the at maplerun.org. I wish you all well and take care. Thank you.
You got a lot of mixed reviews on that. Some people love it and other people hate it.
Well, you know, that loin was on for 5 hours. I had to get it to
Like,
do
little
this.
tiny
Yeah.
I'd like to thank Ashley Olio and Jennifer Conrad for sharing a little bit of inside of our classrooms here at BFA and Northwest Technical Center, so thank you.
But you can monitor.
Next, I'd like to introduce Douglas Bell. He is our engineering technologies instructor at Northwest Technical Center, and he will be sharing a little bit about how he's helping our community.
Are they on that?
Good evening. My name's Doug Bell. I teach at the Northwest Technical Center. I teach an engineering course. A couple weeks just after this all started, Leanne sent me an email and said, hey, there are some people that are getting together and printing safety gear for people, and was wondering if I was interested in getting in on that. So I said, sure, why not? And we have a 3D printer down there. So what I've been doing is 3D printing the frames for safety shields, face shields. They're a nice design. The design was actually made in Italy, so it's time tested as well. This is the piece that I print. This is what it looks like when it comes out of our printer. These pieces are stuck down to this, and then we add a piece of overhead projector film, which schools have a lot of because nobody uses overhead projectors anymore, and then we're ready to go. One problem I'm having right now is that there's a third piece to these, and that's elastic for the back, and I don't have any. I can't get it through any local supplier that I can find. So if anybody has any and you're interested in donating it, 1/4 inch wide, as much as you have, I'd really appreciate that, because these things aren't going to be able to be worn without it. So the things that we've done so far, this is a fairly slow process. In order to make these two, it takes about 3 hours to print. So it's a pretty time-consuming process. But I've made 160 of them, or excuse me, 120 of them so far. Got my numbers wrong. We've donated some to Northwestern Medical Center, a dozen to one of the local assisted care facilities. A doctor came up to me at one point. He found out about it through the hospital, and he said to me, I'm a doctor and I sometimes do house calls, and I'm swabbing people in their homes, and he said, there's one thing that happens after you swab somebody's nose. They either sneeze on you or cough on you, so I really need these. So he has 2 of them now too. And I've also made a dozen for our local maintenance people here in the building so that they can be safe. They're kind of expensive to build. This piece here, in order to print it, and the piece of plastic that's on the front, it's a total of about $7. It's much more expensive than what Pete will show you. But they're a different design. They're kind of intended for long wear. They're very, very light. And anyway, it's been a really fun process to do, and I'm really happy to help people. If you have a need, right now I have, I think, 50 of them that are about ready to ship. So if you do, just contact the Tech Center office and let us know, or you can email me at dbell@maplerun.org, and I'll see what I can do. Thanks.
Thanks, Doug. It's great to hear about the work that you're doing to help out the community. Next, we have Pete Samulia, design tech teacher from BFA, who's been doing something similar but a different design, and has been helping create personal protective equipment for our community, and I know that he's here to discuss that right now. Dino's doing a little bit of camera switching right now, and as soon as he's back, since we have him on the camera, as you can't see in the studio, we have social distancing happening. Even though we don't have our masks on, we're staying well away, so sometimes it takes a little bit to move the camera around.
Remind them to put questions.
And yeah, oh, thanks. Yeah, any questions you might have or comments, especially for our staff that's here tonight, that would be great to put those in the chat window as well. Thanks, Leanne, for reminding me about that. So I think we're ready for Pete now. Dino, we ready to go? Okay.
All right, I think I'm up. Hi there, good evening, my name's Pete Smula. I teach design technology here at BFA, and I was contacted a little over a month ago now about a potential project. Actually, the district, I live in the Essex Westford School District, it's where my children go to school. And actually, the principal there, Marcy Lewis, contacted a friend of mine who is an engineer at Global Foundries, but we've done various things together, coached robotics teams and stuff. So let me know about this project that Marcy brought to his attention. She heard it probably much like Leanne did. So Essex CTE was working on cutting a design that had been floating around out there out of acrylic, and they were encountering some difficulties because acrylic, when you cut it, there's different forms of it. Cast acrylic being the best. This is not cast acrylic, so often what happens with this, once it's put under the heat of a laser cutter, it becomes very brittle. So when you snap this together like this, even if you go like that a little bit, it breaks. We worked with them and the Vermont Design Technology Education Association, which is a group of teachers like myself all around the state. So we have meetings. They used to be monthly, but now they're weekly with so much to do. So I brought my friend Mark Droppa into this group of teachers that pretty much from the northern half of the state to have a conversation about what our options were. So this was the first version that we were looking at, and the cool thing about this is this version actually was from a gentleman named Chris Camp, who lives down in Boston, and he was providing this style to Mass General. So he provided, I think, 300 or 400 to them to protect their people. So we went through many design iterations. We were contacted by the state emergency department. Initially, they asked for 4,000 of these, which was a pretty tall order. They since found other resources and did other things, so that wasn't on the table anymore. So through the conversation, we talked about how, what other facilities could use these. So in the meeting, we determined that you can get online and find a list of all the nursing homes in the state. So one person was tasked with that, and they did that. We sent a Google form out to every nursing home in the state and asked if there was a need. In a day, we got the need of 1,200. So we continue to refine the design, and you can see, like, from these many design iterations, this was the acrylic that I first showed you here. And I have a contact at Vermont Plastics down in Williston. His name's Mike. He's been super awesome helping us figure out what the best material is. So the problem when you cut a lot of this material is sometimes it often off-gases and can produce toxic films such as, toxic gas such as chlorine or other noxious gases. So we obviously want to avoid that. We don't want people wearing a product on their face that produces noxious gas. So we went with this material. This is called polypropylene. And the benefit to this material is, first of all, it's about a quarter of the price of the acrylic. Acrylic is around $200, give or take, a sheet for a 4x8 sheet. This material is $56 a sheet, so it's much less, and it's super pliable. So when you put this in here and you actually click it in, it stays, and then if you put a strap around this, I don't have the other piece, I guess, oh yeah, I do here. You put some type of, like Doug was saying, elastic around there, then you can put it on your head. But it was a little uncomfortable, and these were out there, and we got some feedback from the hospital in Boston that there could be some design tweaks. So we started doing that. We tried different materials. The hospital said wood is no good. This was some clear acrylic that we started. We determined that cast acrylic worked better than clear acrylic, but then again, it still has the brittle factor. So in our designer meetings that we were having several times a week, pretty much 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, because that's when people were done their work for the day. So we began to look at other designs. This is a design actually out of Sweden called the Verkscan design. And one of the really cool things about this project is that at a time like this, people are providing all these resources. I know Doug said his was from Italy. This one's from Sweden. This one that I showed you first was designed by a gentleman in Massachusetts. So people that have the capability to design a product that has the potential to, save someone's life are really willing to put that out there for anybody who can produce it. So in our meeting, there was a number of schools that were interested in doing this. One of the issues with this material is you need a more powerful laser to cut this than you do the acrylic, believe it or not. So actually, BFA was fortunate enough to get a brand new laser this year. I think you can see some video on there with it that was grant funded. So we got a very powerful 150 watt laser here in our facility to go along with much of our other equipment that our students regularly use. I mean, this machine, it's not rocket science. We come in and we're teaching young freshmen to use this in a few weeks. So we're pretty fortunate to have this equipment here. So we began working with Essex CTE, South Burlington, People's Academy, Camel Sump Middle School is working to cut a few, possibly Browns River Middle School is working to cut a few. So these are all teachers that teach design technology. For those of you that are my age or older, it was the old industrial arts that's kind of re-identified itself into new higher tech advanced manufacturing equipment. So sometimes the designers or people that are working on these, there'd be 15 or 20 emails within an hour or two with people trying to say, like, here's a new DXF file, try this one, I've set this on a sheet. So basically what you do is you take this is a sheet of polypropylene, and you can see on this, like, this was one we were testing. Lasers work on power and speed. So if you have high power and low speed, you're gonna melt something or catch it on fire. If you don't have enough power and too much speed, then it won't cut out like these. So trying to get that fine-tuned is pretty tricky. And like I said, this was a brand new laser that was slated to be set up the 20th of March, and we weren't here. So I set that up remotely with the company from Arizona and my vendor out of Massachusetts. So that took about 6 days to get that set up, which was challenging but fun. So we can cut 13 of these a sheet that fits in the laser, and it takes about 19 minutes to cut 13 of them. So we can get about 104 per 4x8 sheet, which brings the cost down about 53 cents for these. And like Doug was saying earlier, we got a lot of these clear sheets laying around because we don't use them anymore. So Peg Goldsberry was fortunate enough, she helped me, or I was fortunate enough, I guess, kind of raided the old stock room, and we found a bunch of boxes that had dust on them. So we cleaned them up, and we're providing these to the nursing homes around the state. So they work pretty easy. It's a standard 3-hole punch. There's these tabs on here that are notched. So you just take a sheet, you put it like this. I'm doing this backwards here, turn this around. So you put that on there like this, bring it around, snap it over the middle one, like that. I don't know if you can hear that click. And then the last one, you gotta pull it really tight, and that clicks on. Sometimes it's a little bit, that one went on nice and straight. Sometimes it's a little crooked. If you just hold this center piece and you pull straight down, then it straightens itself out nicely. And then when you put it on, you can put it right on your head like that. It stays on. And the good thing about this is when you move your head around, it doesn't come off. For extra protection, I borrowed a few of these headbands from my house, but if you could use a piece of elastic or you could use a hair tie, and this you can just click in the back pretty quickly, and it gives it a little bit more security, and then it's not gonna go anywhere. So to date I've cut about 600 of these that have been dropped 100 off to a facility here in St. Albans, and we have people that are providing drop off or mailing them to other nursing homes around the state, as far as from here in St. Albans to a number in Chittenden County, all the way down to Brandon. So we're trying to hit the state. If we have a resource with all the asks for these, but if anybody needs more of these, and one of my colleagues just asked for some for their daughter's facility going back to work, and we happily, that was a fun thing to do for those people. So if you have any questions about this, I'm not sure how the contact on this works. You can either send Bill Kimball an email, and I'm sure he'll get it to me, or you can look up, like Leanne was talking about earlier, my address, Pete Smula, is on the webpage here at school. Send me an email and let me know who needs him, and we'll get you some. Thanks, and have a good night.
Thanks, Pete, and thanks to Doug. They're doing some great work helping the community there, and we really appreciate they put quite a bit of time in both of the design tech and engineering facilities we have here at BFA Northwest Tech, and we're getting some stuff out there for the community. So I think that's a great thing. We're gonna switch our mode a little bit, and Dino, I hope you have the survey slides ready to go. I'm gonna, just as I did the other night, I'll do a little jumping around, and Leanne, if you can watch the chat.
Yes, I will.
Because I'm going to be seeing the survey on my computer, so I won't be able to see the chat.
Okay.
So tonight we want to thank everybody that responded to our parent survey. We can go right away to the next slide there, Dino. We had about 15 questions. 10 of them were multiple choice. 5 were open-ended responses. We had almost 500 responses, which was great. We had 212 parents responded and 267 students. We had made 2 different surveys, one for seniors and senior parents, because we had some questions about the end of the year ceremonies, which we used that data to talk about. And this past Tuesday night's YouTube live event, it actually helped us plan some of the ways in which we're going to be going forward with the end of the year ceremonies. If you haven't seen that, there's a recording on our MRUSD outreach channel, and you can go see that. And then we had a survey that worked for the rest of the students and the rest of the parents of underclassmen. We've analyzed the data overall with all the parent, and we've analyzed it by sorting it overall, looking at parent response and student response, and we've also started to look at it by grade level. I'll talk about more of this at the end of this presentation, but we will be sending out a link through our weekly communication. So if you would like to see a written report, that report probably won't be produced till the beginning of next week, but we'll get that out to you. But we wanted to give you a preview of some of the results. So if we can go forward a little bit, Dino, on to the next slide, that's going to talk about, in general, the amount of work and how that's been. So we asked this question, and this is the one that, in most of the questions, we had pretty good alignment between the students and the parents, but this one we did not. We had asked, in general, the amount of work has been just right, too little, or too much. And if the blue on the parent side, the blue signifies the just right, and the gray is too much, and the orange is too little. So with the too little or just right, it's over 75% of the parents are saying that's where it is. But the students, when you go over, the green is the too much, and you can see that the students are thinking almost 61% of it's too much, with the blue being just right, which is almost close to 38%. So a little difference there. It told us, when we looked at this the other day and we were talking about this as administrators, we felt like It may be telling us that we may be pushing a little hard, but we're right about where we need to be. And maybe just a little bit change in some of the workload. If you can go to the next slide, there were some comments that we had from parents. I haven't had a chance to look at the student comments yet. Going to work on those analysis. And like I said, that will be in the report. But in the student comments, these are some, in the parent comments, here are some of the things. Too much work was the number one comment that we got. These are in order of importance. Some teachers are doing really well, others are not. So there's asked for some standardization and alignment among the teachers and standardize the communication methods. The next most comment after those two was just right or not enough work for students. And then the last three was motivation's a struggle for some of the students, too much stress, and teachers not using video connections or too much through Google Docs and just email. So to have people wanting to have us have teachers to have video sessions with their kids. And we learned some of that through here. If we go on to the next one, and Leanna, I think I'm doing this one and the next and then you're going back over to you. Okay. In general, we ask teachers at BFA are flexible and accommodating my child's needs. The blue is totally agree with that statement, and the gray is somewhat agree with this statement. So, but would like to see a little more alignment. So predominantly both students and parents felt that the teachers are being really flexible and accommodating during this time. It was well over 80%. Really glad to see that. Probably could do a little bit of alignment, but that to us was a really good indicator of where things are at. So I think, Leanne, you're going to talk about communication.
Yep. So the next one is the communication from, I don't think we're aligning our slides.
Yeah.
I think it might be the next one, do you know? Communication from BFA Northwest Tech Center.
Yeah, he's got it up.
He does? Okay, sorry about that.
No problem.
So the communication from BFA and Northwest Tech Center, if you look at both the parents and the students, it's pretty closely aligned. We are really striving as two schools to align our communication so that it's not too much or too little. So it looks like parents and students are in close agreement with that. Of course, we're looking for continuous improvement. So if there's something that you're missing, something that you're not getting, we need to know about it. Or if it's specific to a specific group that you're not getting the information, we also want to know that. So make sure you reach out to us and share that. Anything you want to say on this slide, Bill?
No, you can go right on to the next one there on that communication. The one about the communication from Northwest Tech. That was the one that was,
Thank you.
yeah.
So the next piece is specific to Northwest Technical Center staff being accommodating to students. And so we have really strong responses saying that they are. And we're very pleased with that. We work hard to work with students individually through Google Classroom and also reaching out individually through email, text, phone call. You may have even gotten phone calls from teachers at your house checking in on your child, and I'm sure and I'm positive that that's happening at BFA as well. So very pleased to see that data there. And again, there's that 1.52% that's saying, nope, not working for us. We need to hear from you. We want to make sure that we're hitting every kid.
Okay, I think, Dino, I'm going to come back. If you want to go down to the next slide, that is your child. This slide, the colors are aligned. The yellow, we asked, is your child ... stressed out by the work? That's the yellow. Appropriately handling the stress of the work? That's the blue. Could use a little more work? Is coasting along? That's the orange. And the gray is doing fine. So you can see how the parents and the students responded to this. The students overall are very stressed out. Those were almost 61%, while the parents thought it was about 28% thought of that way. So you can see how that kind of aligns with the first question about how much of the workload is. But it was some good indicators there, and as I said before, we're looking a little bit at how we adjust the load on the students. So
I've got a comment.
Yeah, go ahead.
I got a comment here. Thank you, Mary. She is sharing that she would fill out the survey differently because she did the survey 2 weeks ago. She's feeling that she has more information at this point. I'm not sure if that is that you have better information or information that can give you more to provide on the survey. That'd be interesting for us to know, Mary. But yeah, sometimes when you do a survey and it's a week later when you get out the results, things have changed. But again, this is from when we did the survey 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and Leanne, if I remember correctly, when we were talking as Maple Run principals, all 5 of us together, we were talking about that this is a baseline for this. So
Correct.
we're going to learn more and learn more by the end. And as I've said to many times to different parents and times, again, one of the things that we're learning is that we have to be willing to think about we might have remote learning next year and prepare for it. And we're going to be doing work at the end of the year. So this is really helping us inform for continuous improvement on how we can make the system even better if we have to go back to it at some point next year. So, Dino, I was wondering if you could get us to the next slide. And this last one was the question about understanding the scoring and reporting procedures in remote learning. And this was pretty closely aligned between the parents and the students. Even though they are the two different graphs here, but really the alignment, the green is you totally understand the reporting and scoring, and the blue is I still have a few questions. The yellow is I've read it, but sorry, I said that wrong. The blue is the green is I have read the scoring procedures. The yellow is I've read the scoring procedures, I have a few questions. The red is I've read the scoring procedures and I don't understand them at all. And the blue is I haven't read it at all. What we need to do is get more information out there about the scoring and reporting. We've put that out in print a couple of times. I know some teachers have explained it, but the basis of our scoring and reporting system is to do no harm. If students had a score of 2.5 or higher at the progress report period and they do their work, we're not talking about the quality, but they do their work that they're asked for in their classes, they can receive that score or higher and gain credit for their courses. And I think at our next viewing, we can actually even go more into that and how that is.
Yep, question here,
Yeah.
what percentage responded to each survey? So I'm not sure if she means each question.
I don't have each question, but I do know this. We actually were talking about this today in the Maple Run leadership team meeting. When usually you do a voluntary survey, if you get 20% back of the folks that could respond, that's usually considered extremely high and very valid sampling of your population. We had almost 25% response rate from students and parents. So that's a really high response rate and feel really good that this is representative. We also know that it doesn't represent those who have low access to technology. So that's one of the pieces that we want to put out there. We've been really understanding that when we do surveys or we do YouTube live events like this, it's not the only way we should be putting out information. It's one of many because people don't necessarily have access to the technology and we need to provide them access as well. And we're really cognizant of that. So,
Do you want to get to some of the comments for the
yeah,
responses?
let's do the comments there.
These are my favorite.
Okay, do you want to take some?
Sure. You want me to start with the positive?
Sure, go with the positive
Okay,
ones.
so some of the positive comments that we got, teachers are supporting the students and they're being flexible. That clearly is what we're striving for. We're in a situation that we've never been in before and flexibility is definitely key. So thank you for that. Email and frequent communication. So again, trying to find that balance of too much, too little, just right. Looks like we're hitting the mark when it comes to the communication. And if we're not, again, we need to hear from you. People are liking the Google Classroom, so pretty consistently across both Northwest Tech Center and BFA, I would say we're at a 98% Google Classroom.
Yeah.
All teachers are working hard for students. That is crystal clear. I mean, you can see from our YouTube live events, we have our teachers that are voluntarily coming in after hours to share with you their experiences and things that they're doing for our community. And I can tell you that they're up late and they're up early answering individual emails and working with students to ensure that that they can understand the content and get the work done. Online meetings is something that's positive that's come out of this. So, it's sort of any time, any pace, any place is where these online meetings are happening. Automated Google emails. As you may know, anybody that's making phone calls to our staff, those voicemails go right to their email so that they're able to respond quickly and efficiently. People are liking the green and gold schedule so that students aren't getting 7 periods in a day of 7 periods of work. So we've spread that out for a green and gold schedule. And then it's looking like teacher follow-up has been a positive for our schools. So really pleased with those pieces.
Yeah. Some of the areas that we've heard that we could do some improvement is consistency and clear attendance procedures. And we're working on that. We know it's tough right now because we're trying to be empathetic and knowing that many students have different situations. And so it's not the standard attendance system that we have when we're here at school, where it's, kids are here the whole time. They know when they need to, what classes they need to be at, and we look at that. Better communication from the teachers, students, and parents. When I did this analysis, one of the things I saw a lot was just more information, particularly from teachers to parents and parents that wanted to monitor their kids. I would recommend to everyone that if you haven't done it yet, to get onto Google Classroom and sign up for the Guardian updates. You can do those daily or weekly, and it will tell you what teachers have posted out for your kids and where the assignments are for your kids. They've asked for more consistency between the teachers' use of Google Classroom and other platforms. A good example I heard from a parent was, hey, my child, they're doing the work, but to take a quiz in one class, they may use Quizlet, and in another classroom, they might use Kahoot. And switching from one, although they're both good quiz applications, having the kids have to constantly switch between different applications isn't helpful. So then they have to learn these different apps. So we're going to work on that. Less assignments, reduce the school emails, be more flexible, and then technology training for parents. And Leanne and I were talking earlier, we're hoping that can be our topic for next Thursday's live. We can have Stephen Davis come in with us, and we can do some projecting of how to use PowerSchool and Google Classroom for all of you, so we can give you some online tutorial of that. He doesn't know that yet, so when he hears this is news to him, but we're hoping we can do something like that. So, I think that's it for the slides. Take a quick see if there's been anything in the chat room.
It's been a quiet night.
It's been a quiet night. It has been a quiet night, but we thank everyone that's here. I think we'll give it a minute or so to see if there are any questions, any comments people have. Like I said, we'll get a link out next week with a print version, digital version of the report of the survey results to all of you.
Maybe I'll pull the splash screen up for 5 minutes and we can see.
Yeah, just like we did Tuesday night, which was great. Then anyone had any questions, and then we'd come back and we could answer questions. Perfect. So I think that'll work, and we'd like to thank all of you for being with us tonight and viewing this. I was saying to Leanne earlier, some of our shows where we've had 150 people on live, you go back and look the next week and there's been 900 views of it. So whether you're watching it live or watching this recorded, we thank you for tuning in, and keep sending in questions and comments about BFA Northwest Tech. Have a good night. There's a question up here. How will BFA look like in the fall in terms of social distancing? We're all waiting with bated breath to what that will look like. We don't have that information quite yet, but we will get it. As soon as, we're waiting. That's going to be determined by the Department of Health. And there's a question about it. Will we survey again? We were talking about surveying near the end of the middle of June, beginning to middle of June, just to see how we ended up. Yep, we are looking to know that difference and what we can put in for improvements. And thanks, Jen, for thanking us. And Mary as well. it just switched off of me now. Yeah, folks, if you have questions, you can put them up. Even though the banner's up, we're still here with the audio. If there's anything that comes through the chat room, we'll do the same as we did Tuesday night, leave it up for 2 or 3 minutes, and if there's any questions, we'll respond to them or comments.
I think they.
Thanks, Norma. I think we're all set, you know. Yeah, I think so. We've left it for at least a good 2 minutes, and things have been quiet.
Would you like to say goodnight?
I did already, so.
All right. Well,
good night, all.
Yeah. Take care, everyone.